All right, good evening, everybody. Just give me 2 seconds here. I'm just going to put on my microphone, and we will get started. But it is May 25th, 2023. It's about 8:52 p.m. Now, I know what you're thinking. This isn't Central Park South. I get that. But I thought tonight would be interesting if we took a walk down in Lower Manhattan. We're going to walk to Wall Street tonight. Hopefully we'll have enough time to get to the New York Stock Exchange. But for now, we're about to, in a couple minutes here, we're going to cross Houston Street. Maybe we'll have some time to go through Little Italy, walk Canal Street to Chinatown as well, and also check out a pretty interesting building, one of my favorite brand new construction residential apartment buildings in Manhattan. It's called 130 William. So as we head down to Fulton Street, you guys will be able to see the World Trade Center. I think it's going to look fantastic tonight. It is a little bit cold, so just keep that in mind. The traffic is really backing up here. Everybody tends to come into the city to go to the office on Thursdays. So the traffic is pretty backed up all the way to the tunnel, but we're going to head to Lower Manhattan. We're going to be able to see the World Trade Center, take a quick peek at 130 William, and if we have enough time, go to the New York Stock Exchange. Now, today was a very, very wild day in the market. Now, we couldn't do a live stream yesterday, but I think it's appropriate today to talk a little bit about interest rates. The futures market, or I should say traders, are actually pricing in Fed rate cuts starting in Q3 and Q4 of this year. We'll talk about if we think that's going to materialize. But also, Nvidia is the stock of the week, rallied on a massive beat and raise earnings report. I think the stock finished up about 20% on the day. And if we take a look at the iShares Semiconductor ETF, the ticker symbol SOXX, we're breaking out from a cup with handle base. And we've said this many times before on the live stream, right? Everybody knows about Dow theory. We understand, back in the day, traders would use the Dow transports as a leading economic indicator for direction of the market, right? So in theory, if the Dow transports looks like they were bottoming and turning higher, breaking above major moving averages such as the 50-day and the 200-day moving average, well, then it's a pretty good probability that GDP growth will continue to expand in the United States and corporate earnings will expand. But one of the things that I've been experimenting with ever since we have all of these new technologies emerging, such as artificial intelligence, right? AI, autonomous vehicles, EVs, IoTs, 5G technologies. The engine and the driver of that technology is going to be semiconductors. So it's possible that we could use these semiconductor indices as a proxy for demand for these products, for this innovation. And if you take a look at ticker symbol SOXX, it looks to be in gear. And I've always said, I think it's pretty impossible to have a bull market or a new bull market without the participation of semiconductor stocks. So let me go ahead and put my computer away here and we will get started. I see Ryan Royal, Michelle, Dr. Longis, Julia M. Hey, the ABX girl is here. Good to see you, my friend. Solo 401, I think you're going to be pretty pleased with tonight's stream. We're going to be able to see the Freedom Tower, which I know is your favorite building. Allow me one moment. All right. Yeah, Blues Writers says semiconductors are the sweetest commodity play. Hold on 1 minute. All right, sorry about that. I just need to clip the microphone on. So once again, tonight, everybody, we are going to be going to Lower Manhattan, which I'm pretty pleased and I'm pretty excited about because we've really been wearing out Midtown Manhattan. Would you guys agree? Now, the reason why we've been streaming from Midtown Manhattan so much, 57th Street, Billionaires Row, Central Park South, is because I work up that way, right? So it's easy for me to get the stream started. I finish up my work and then, I sort of head out. Here we are on the corner of Varick Street and King Street. Check out all the traffic, everybody. The traffic is backed up all the way uptown. If you look all the way in the distance, this is Observation Decks in New York. It's one of the newest attractions. So it looks like we're gonna have some traffic headed down to Lower Manhattan. Hey, Austin City Limits, says Tom, when was your actual birthday? Oh, it's today, But so I appreciate all of the birthday wishes, guys. I mean, overwhelming amount of people sending me emails, sending me really nice messages on Twitter and right here on YouTube. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being so kind to me. And I appreciate all of the well wishes. Line Sync. This is Midtown worn out by walks to Wall Street. Good to see you, Line Sync. Photos from around New York. Always a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for being a great moderator. Ryan Royal, thank you, sir. Lilla, I appreciate it. Solo401, thank you so much. And Matt Dykes. GGNYC, Andrew O'Donovan, thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Let me adjust the brightness on my phone. Maybe I'll take the Wi-Fi off. Hey, Bree Graham says, here's to many more trips around the sun. Happy birthday. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate it. Really do appreciate the birthday wishes. I'll tell you a quick story about birthdays, or my perception. And I think this will actually tie into the financial markets. Look at all this traffic backed up. All right, traffic story and then birthday story. So with remote work now and hybrid work, I've been noticing personally that people tend to come into the offices either Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so the traffic is jam-packed, it's slammed. Hey, the Mighty Bull, thank you so much for your very kind and generous $5 donation. Says happy birthday, Tom. Thanks so much for the shout out. Mighty Bull, thank you, sir, for the support. I appreciate it. But yeah, traffic in Manhattan is so horrible on Tuesdays and Thursdays because if your boss tells you, you know what, you can come to the office, you could work remote the rest of the week, but you gotta come to the office at least 2 times a week, what I see people are doing, particularly my friends, they're opting not to take public transportation into the city. So if you live in New Jersey, if you live in upstate New York, like Rye or Ossining or something like that, or on Long Island, Nassau, Suffolk County, they would rather drive into the city Tuesday and Thursday, park their car, skip the public transit. But the problem is it creates a traffic hellscape in the city. Hey, Blues Writer, thank you so much for your very kind and generous $25 donation. This is birthday bottle on me, sir. Thank you, Blues Writer. Very kind. I appreciate the support, everybody. Blues Writer, Mighty Bull, thank you both. Hey, Mimi, thank you. Appreciate it. So I'll tell you guys a quick birthday story. And I think this has to do with duration perception. Because tonight we're going to be talking a lot about not only just duration risk for different bonds and things like that, but also time duration for when you should be holding specific stocks or securities or equities, right? And I think you'll see what I mean. But I remember when I was turning 19 years old. I remember that birthday for whatever reason so vividly in my mind. And I was turning 19, and at the time I just got this internship because I was washing cars in a parking garage for a rental car service. And then I got a sales internship to rent the vehicles to customers. I remember on my 19th birthday, I was like, oh my God, I'm turning 19 years old. I'm almost 20 years old. Like I couldn't even come to grips with the fact I'm going to be 20. And I thought at that time, 20 years old was ancient. I thought, oh my God, my life is over. I need to get my act together. I can't believe I'm 20. And it's all about perception, right? Because today, I'm turning 28, and I look back on my 19th birthday, and I'm like, oh my God, I was like a child. Wow, this guy's... NYPD's in hot pursuit with all the traffic. That's a little dangerous. But, you know, I'm 28 today, and for some reason I'm looking back on that 19th birthday, and I'm like, oh my God, I think I would do anything to go back to 19 years old. And the perception of a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old at 28 is almost that of just like a little kid. And I know you're not a kid, you're a grown man at 18, but I think you get the point. There's just so much stuff you haven't experienced when you're 19, when you're 20. So to me, looking back on that, I'm like, man, I was such a child. So I think the attitude that I'm gonna take going into my 28th birthday is that hopefully, you know, please God, if I'm lucky enough to make it to 38, right? I'll look back on my birthday when I'm 28 and I'll say, you know what? You were such a little kid back then. So don't worry about, you know, getting older. Don't really worry about anything. Just focus on experiencing as much stuff as possible, meeting as many people as possible, making as many business connections and friendship connections as possible. And don't worry about the age. Just focus on the activity. So I don't know, anybody else feel the same way? Because I remember that birthday vividly. I was like, I'm gonna be 20 years old. I thought I was like an old man. Anyway, guys, this is the Holland Tunnel. This is the main entrance to the Holland Tunnel here. And you can see on Varick Street, the traffic jam is probably, you know, not even gonna lie, guys, it's probably all the way backed up, probably to the 20s. I'm gonna say mid-20s. If you look all the way uptown, you'll be able to see the Hudson Yards. You could actually see the Edge building right there. But I'm surprised that there's this much traffic this late at night. If you think about it, it's 9 o'clock, maybe 9:10, and the traffic is still gridlock going into the Holland Tunnel. That's for all of our friends who live in New Jersey. Anyway, hey, Dr. Longus says you are spot on, Tom, and it continues throughout life. Appreciate it. Hey, Buy the Book says, yes, I thought I was so old when I turned 30. I think it's all about perception. I think life is just all about perception. So, I mean, that's just the way I'm going to take it. That's the way I'm going to, you know, take getting older in stride is, you know, you're always going to look back on these moments when you're young and say, damn, I'd give anything to go back to when I was 28. I'd do anything to go back to when I was 19. So I think just live in the moment and worry about the activity and the experiences rather than, you know, freaking out about getting older. Here's the second entrance to the Holland Tunnel. Crazy traffic. Hey, Cindy Foley is here. What's up? Sabrina Fair says 28 was traumatic, almost 30. Yeah. Deborah says, I think traffic is because it's a Thursday night, which is kind of now Friday night in New York City. Yeah, that's true as well. But again, you know, even my friends, all my friends on Long Island that I should say commute into the city, you got to bob in and out of the traffic jam here. You see it all lined up here. It's kind of wild. People are opting, and you see all the Jersey plates obviously going to New Jersey, but people are opting out of taking public transit. They'd rather, you know, drive in the comfort of their own car and just expense the parking for the 1 or 2 days that they have to come to the city and essentially say, look, I'm not going to take the transit and I'm going to focus on being away from people, being in my vehicle. And you could kind of tell. I actually took the train, I took the subway to come down here. Subways were pretty empty. Subways were pretty empty. All right, this one is for our pal Solo 401 here. You have an amazing view, probably one of the best views we're gonna have tonight, of One World Trade Center, the brand new Freedom Tower that went up. Absolutely gorgeous building here. Hey, Elizabeth Gill says, hello, Tom from Buffalo, New York. Good to see everybody from upstate New York. Buy the book says, you are very accomplished and doing a lot. Thank you so much. Daniel G says, hey, Tom, good evening. I wish I was 26 again. 26 was definitely a good age. Definitely a good age. Photos from around New York says, New Jersey Holland Tunnel is closed partially. Is it really? I don't know, man. People are hammering on the horn down there, though. But so I guess we'll just jump right into the stream, because I think my battery is not going to last too long tonight, because it's only about half the way charged. I didn't have enough time to charge the entire thing. But what I want to talk about in terms of duration, right? And we've talked about intraday volatility on the S&P 500. And I think there's a lot of misnomers, or I should say misrepresentations and mischaracterizations of how to trade the financial markets, especially online, especially on platforms like TikTok and all that other nonsense that I try to stay away from. And I think talking about it tonight is a good segue, because it gives a good example as it relates to Nvidia, right? Ticker symbol NVDA. This is Canal Street real quick. So Canal Street runs across the entire Manhattan, essentially. It'll take you from West Coast to East Coast, from the Holland Tunnel all the way to the Manhattan Bridge. But anyway, if you paid attention, Nvidia reported earnings 2 days ago, and after the bell, they reported a beat and raise earnings report. So that means they beat analyst expectations on Wall Street for earnings per share, or EPS, which is the bottom line, but they also beat on the top line, which is revenue growth. In addition to that, they raised their forward guidance, right? So one of the key components to an earnings report that a lot of analysts and investors look for is not just the report in and of itself, right? Because if you're thinking about what it is to be an investor, you essentially want to pay for future profits, for future earnings, not for what already happened. So the stock jumped over 20% after hours. And oftentimes you'll see on TikTok and all this other nonsense, people claiming that they're making so much money in the financial markets by day trading individual securities or stocks. But you could actually disprove that thesis. Now, I'm not saying all people lose money in day trading, but almost everybody, okay? Unless, you're working at a quantitative-based hedge fund, right? Like a D.E. Shaw, 2 Sigma, Citadel Securities, jump trading, or something like that. Those are the people who are running algorithms who can make money intraday. And one of the ways we can prove this is by making a model in Excel and going back 20, 30, 40, however many years you want, and plotting the intraday volatility on the S&P 500. And if you do that exercise, you'll actually see something quite remarkable. And the big change just so happens to come right around the introduction of algorithmic trading and quantitative trading, so the quants on Wall Street, which have actually over time reduced the intraday volatility on the major equity indices. So what does that mean? So if we want to increase our probability of making money in the market, we need to expand the time horizon in which we're holding these securities. And if you think even further, here's another good shot of the World Trade Center, an amazing shot. If you think even further down that line, I want you to just do a quick Google search or just type into ChatGPT, where does the vast majority of the movements in the stock market take place? It may surprise you, it actually doesn't happen during the hours where the stock market is actually open. It actually happens after hours. So the theory there is, if you're an investor, an individual investor, right, and you're actively managing a portfolio of securities or stocks, and you're not just buying an index fund, you need to expand the duration in which you hold these assets, and you want to focus on good quality companies who have similar characteristics, which just so happen to be earnings growth, revenue growth, very good pre-tax and after-tax margins, phenomenal return on equity, and institutional sponsorship. And you want to hold these stocks through the earnings reports, right? There's studies that have been done is that if you can find a company that's coming off the back of 3 consecutive beat and raise quarters. Now again, a beat and raise earnings report is when a company beats analyst expectations. So let's say if, analyst Solo 401 at Goldman Sachs, right, thinks that XYZ company is going to report earnings per share of $2 a share on $1 billion in revenue. And during the report, XYZ company actually reports $1.50 on $1.5 billion. Well, that would be beating on both the top and the bottom line. And if the CEO or the executives of the company are so optimistic about the next quarter, they may do something called raising the forward guidance. So if they guided, let's say $3 a share for the full fiscal year, and they say, you know what, things are going really well, the economic environment is improving, demand from abroad is coming back, we actually are going to raise our forward guidance to $8 earnings per share, EPS, on $10 billion worth of revenue, right? And studies show that if a company can do that 3 consecutive times and then go on to complete 4 more beat and raise quarters, that stock on average will double. And over the duration of 4 years, it'll probably go up 215 to 250%, which is significant. Compare that to the intraday volatility of the S&P. Now, I won't give you guys the answer, but look up the historical average over the last 10 years of intraday movements in the S&P. It's a loser's game, right? You're competing against the market makers, the quants on Wall Street. You're not, you want to increase your time horizon and focus on buying good companies and holding them throughout multiple earnings reports. Hey, Teresa Diaz, good to see you. Thank you so much for your very kind $2 donation. Thank you so much. TD is joining us from California. Thank you for being a great moderator. Yeah, Jafet Perez is Peter Lynch style, the 10 baggers. That's true. I think that's one of the first books anybody should read if they're interested in the financial markets, is Peter Lynch's One Up on Wall Street. That is a fantastic book. Hey, I see Abdullah's in the chat. Good to see you, Abdullah. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, welcome. Sabrina Fair, welcome. Hey, Sparks Carnival says IBD's Can Slim investing has helped me a lot. Yeah, I mean, that is sort of the style that I subscribe to, as you guys know. And many people, I think, misinterpret the style a lot. They think it's all about technical analysis, but if you think about it, it's almost like you're reverse engineering the concept. Because 9 times out of 10, if you look at 1,000 charts. So one of the things I'll do, I want to show you guys this hotel really quick. This is called the Roxy. This is such a unique building right here. Now we're entering Lower Manhattan. So I think we're making good timing. We were actually walking down 6th Avenue. I think we're going to go all the way down to the World Trade Center, and we're actually going to pass a community college called BMCC, Borough Manhattan Community College. I was actually going to go there, but thank God I actually got into a four-year school, thank God. But yeah, to Sparks Carnival's point, one of the things I do every Sunday, literally, I'll go through probably, 250 to maybe 500 charts. And you'll notice something. Let's say if a stock is trading near a 52-week high or an all-time record high, especially in a very crummy market like the market that we're in, nine times out of 10 the stock is trading at a record high for a reason. And there's a reason why. Oh guys, look at this. A gumbo bar. That's cool. And you have a great view of the Empire State Building. This place must have just opened, because during the pandemic when we would walk past here, it would always be closed down, pretty much everything here. This looks like a pretty cool place to come and eat, actually. Let's check it out. It's in the New York Times. Apologize for getting distracted. My attention span is horrible, but we're hanging out tonight. This looks like a cool place. The inside almost has the vibe of like a speakeasy too. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but when my great-grandparents came to the United States, that's the business my family was in. We were in the alcohol business, bar business. And we owned, not me personally, but my great-grandfather owned speakeasy bars in Manhattan. Yeah, Michelle Henry says it looks really nice. That place does look nice. I'm going to make a mental note of that, and I'll probably actually go there this weekend, to be honest. Hey, Ren1018, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Robert says, Tom, do you think AI companies can raise money from VCs right now? Yeah, I mean, well, Robert, the interesting thing is, and I'm not sure if you were here on last night's live stream. I just want to give you guys a quick shot of these buildings down here. But there was a really good podcast called the All In Podcast, and Chamath Palihapitiya made a statement about VC money going into AI. We'll talk about it. Hey, Richie, thank you so much for your very kind $20 donation. I appreciate your support, and thank you for being so generous and nice to me, my friend. Empire State Building, 12 o'clock. We're right on Franklin Street. Gorgeous night in New York. A little bit chilly though, everybody. May 25th, 2023. A little bit chilly going into June. And this is the Jenga building. Look at how unique that is. This building is super unique. And any people from Chicago in the chat, just curious, any viewers of the Walks from Wall Street channel from Chicago? I don't think we have many people from Chicago, but if you are tuning in tonight from Chicago, I think you're going to feel right at home. Do you know why? Anybody know why? Well, you'll find out here in a minute, because as we come up on Leonard Street, real quick, I want to give you a shot of the fire escapes. You guys know I'm a huge sucker of the fire escapes. This is such classic New York. I absolutely love it. I mean, look at the difference. You have beautiful fire escapes, and then you have this super futuristic Jenga building. That is extreme diversity of architecture. I should say architectural diversity. Photos from around New York, you're correct. It is the Bean. Look at that, guys. I think this is the first time we're checking it out here on Walks in Wall Street, but it's very similar. Doesn't look the exact same. Now, I've never been to Chicago. I've never seen the Bean in person, but it kind of looks similar, does it not? We'll cross the street to get a little bit of a closer look, assuming we don't get knocked off by this taxi cab here. But I think it looks really unique, especially right at the front entrance in the lobby of the Jenga building, on the corner of Church Street. So right as you enter your apartment, guys, look at that. I'll try to give a slow panoramic view all the way up. We have the traffic light in the way a little bit, but I think this is a really unique piece almost, right? Yes, it is a residential apartment building, but if you really take a look at it and appreciate it for what it is, it's almost like a work of art in a way. Now, unfortunately, there was a very sad incident that did happen here. But here we have the orb. I guess you could, that's what it's called, right? I love how you could see the reflection of the street in the background. That is so unique. All right. That was cool to see, but we got to make our way down to the World Trade Center. This looks like some sort of art gallery here as well. Hey, Western Mass Dave, what's up? Says it's not often we come all this way. Good to see you, Western Mass Dave. Thank you for joining us tonight. Wabi's here. Good to see you. Somebody says, what are my thoughts on gold? First, I'll go back to Robert's question and I'll give you my thoughts on gold. But so we've obviously Nvidia gapped up, right? 20%. We made that sort of correlation and connection about what is the appropriate duration to hold on to these stocks. Now, I want to make a clarification and say, I'm not telling you to go out and buy Nvidia. What I was trying to make the distinction of is saying, if you're not comfortable holding an individual stock through an earnings report, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make any sizable amount of money on an investment. You got to be willing to do the work, understand the fundamentals of the company, and hold through the corporate earnings report. Because the vast majority of the move in a stock happens after hours, right? So going back to Robert's point about AI, do you think that venture capital is going to be pouring a ton of money into artificial intelligence? The answer is absolutely. Now, there is a little bit of frothiness here and what I like to call irrational exuberance. And I think Chamath Palihapitiya described it on the last All In podcast very well. So what do we mean? Well, I think in order to explain that, we should talk a little bit about the history of how things usually happen in the capital markets. Now, usually it is the tech bros or the SaaS bros, software as a service, all the tech people, that are running and gunning at 150 miles an hour, essentially coining the phrase, move fast and break things. I think we've all heard of that in Silicon Valley, move fast and break things. Look at how gorgeous these buildings are. You know, these are very similar to the type of buildings that are in Soho, these old loft-style buildings with the beautiful fire escapes. But usually it's Silicon Valley. It's, I think, Mark Zuckerberg, when he was in the very early innings of Facebook, he would always use that terminology in the office. He's like, just move fast and break things. And it's usually always Wall Street sort of pumping the brakes on things. Let's do some more analysis. Let's do further analysis before we commit tons of capital to the investment. We want to make sure you're free cash flow positive. We want to make sure you're EPS positive, earnings positive, all that. But with AI, it's actually flipped on its head. And it's kind of interesting. Where you have Wall Street, right, both on the traditional equity capital markets and VC and private equity, almost like jumping over each other to get a piece of all these AI deals. It seems as if you put AI, if you just change the name of your company and just put AI at the end, you're probably going to get flooded with LinkedIn messages from VCs saying, hey, I could add a ton of value to your company, and I'll give you all this money, and I'll advise you. And you know, they're almost beating down the door to write you a check. And it's all of the people in Silicon Valley, right? Most notably Elon Musk, just to name the biggest, tech personality or persona off the top of my head that's sort of saying, hold on, let's pump the brakes on this. Let's figure out an appropriate way to regulate AI. There's no appropriate regulation now. So it's weird. It's a really weird experience where you have a complete 180, where it's the people building the technology that want to sort of pump the brakes. They want regulation, they want better direction. But then you have all the investors and the VCs throwing gobs of money at this stuff. So it's kind of interesting. Hey, Gary Carpenter is here. Good to see you, sir. Beacon, New York says, Tom, I had a classmate in high school who grew up in a Soho loft. That must have been so amazing. I think that's one of my dream apartments. Similar to this. You guys see what I'm talking about here? And I'll tell you one of the reasons why I really love the Soho style lofts, because obviously back in the day, Soho, these loft style apartments, they weren't really meant to be apartments, right? They were factories, they were places for mill work and the like. So the ceilings are so big, they're so vast, and it's more unique living there than I think anywhere else in Manhattan. You know when you walk into a Soho loft, the 10-foot plus ceilings. You can kind of see it here, actually. I'll try to walk a little bit further down. This probably isn't the best example because we're not in Soho, but these are very similar style. Maybe one night, very soon, I could actually get you guys inside one. But I absolutely love the facade. I love the architecture on the outside. And in this one in particular, for those of you who don't know, we are on the corner of Church Street right now. So could you imagine having an apartment right here and going up on your roof deck and having an unobstructed view of a little building we like to call the World Trade Center. This is probably some of the most prime real estate you're ever going to get in New York. And you're able to have the best of both worlds of having an amazing view of one of the most modern, one of the most innovative and awe-inspiring buildings in the world. One World Trade Center, while almost living back in time in classic New York in a building with beautiful fire escapes. Kind of cool. Hey, Teresa Diaz, thank you so much for your $2 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. Thank you for the support. Yeah, Roberts' amazing view. It really is. It's an unbelievable view. Wabi says we once had a place down on... Oh, you sold it 25 years ago for $500K. It just sold last month for $6 million. Oh my God. Jesus. Ooh, I bet you have some regrets about that, man. You got to let that go, though. You got to let that regret go. And I think that story, Wabi, your story about that, you sold the place for $500,000. And then 25 years later, they turn around and sell it for $6 million. Again, expanding the time horizon that you hold these investments. You don't see Warren Buffett and, let me try to cross the street here. We got traffic coming from both ways. About 3 weeks ago, I think now, I can't believe it's already been 3 weeks, we had the Berkshire Hathaway meeting. Right? You had the big annual shareholder meeting, Berkshire Hathaway, and investors from all over the world come and ask Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger about investing advice and all this other stuff. Ask about the economy, their company. You don't see those guys, right? Just imagine the daily activity of Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. Do you think they're sitting behind a desk all day staring at like a 5-minute chart of the S&P 500 day trading that thing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So when you see these things on the internet, especially I've been getting spammed with these things now on Twitter for whatever reason, like these short 3 to 5 second videos of, I think you could use the term charlatan, right? Saying, I'm making $1,000, $2,000 a day, day trading the S&P or the SPY or this ETF. Like, it's just not how things work. For anybody who's, worked on Wall Street before, has experience running institutional money, just knows that that is total nonsense. You know, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, what they do is they take very, very big, concentrated bets over massive amounts of time in companies that consistently compound out their earnings growth, right? So if you've ever read any of the books, the famous Warren Buffett books, it's all about value investing, right? Now, I'm not saying you have to be a value investor, but the premise is if you focus on companies that are compounders, right? They are in a market that has a massive TAM, right? So the acronym TAM stands for Total Addressable Market. Those are the type of characteristics that you want to look for in a company. They're compounding out their earnings growth, 25% plus year over year. They're compounding out their revenue growth, 25% plus year over year. They have great pre-tax and after-tax margins. The return on equity is great. The institutional sponsorship is great. And they have a huge, massive TAM, total addressable market, right? You think about a company like Coca-Cola. Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger's own that forever, right? They've made a fortune on that. Very simple business, very lucrative business, very profitable business, and everybody drinks Coke. The total addressable market on that is infinity. It's everybody, right? You think about the investment that Berkshire Hathaway made in Apple, which just so happens to be their largest holding now. Massive, massive earnings compounder, right? Apple has more money on their balance sheet than some countries, right? Than the GDP of some small countries. So that's what the focus should be. That should be your mindset. How can I be an investigative researcher in the financial markets to identify great companies that are compounding out their earnings, that have a great product, that are addressing a massive market? And that's one of the reasons why I've been very bullish on cybersecurity. Hey, Brent Thompson says, I have to visit New York now. Learning a lot. Thank you so much. Brent Thompson, thank you for your very generous and very kind 15 Canadian donation. You know, by the way, guys, I was actually up on the Upper West Side today. This is Barclay Street, by the way. I was on the Upper West Side near the Museum of Natural History, and I see this huge Canadian tour bus. And that's how you know the summer is starting, my friends, when you see those Canadian tour buses that bring a lot of the Canadian tourists down from the border. You know, New York City is only what would you guys say the drive is from the Canadian border to Manhattan? Maybe like a 7-8 hour drive. That's not too bad. I mean, if you think about it, if you leave at say 5 in the morning, you're gonna get to the city by 1 o'clock. You know, you can make a whole weekend trip just coming here from Canada and vice versa. Not bad. But Brent, thank you so much for your very kind donation. We're happy you're here, so thank you for joining us here. Hold on, I'm going to try to pronounce this. I got to pull off to the side for this. This is the Oculus, by the way, everybody. So 45, I'm going to try to pronounce your name. I didn't want to mispronounce your name because I am so horrible with the pronunciation, but I'll give it a go. Let me see. I'm trying to remember. I'm thinking back to your email. I'm trying to remember. Well, while I'm thinking about that, I'll give you guys probably the best view of the World Trade Center you're ever going to see all night on the stream. Look at that, unreal. And I think we have a little bit of, what is that, a half moon tonight? No, not a half moon, almost half moon, I think. Nareg. Is it Nareg? Well, I'll look at the email. I got to get that down. I'm horrible with the pronunciation. We'll let this guy go. Hey, Julia M. Yeah, it's definitely looking like a 10 out of 10 tonight, the World Trade Center. Wabi says it's a crescent moon tonight. Let's check it out again. I think you're right. I think it is a crescent moon. Man, this shot looks like something out of a Batman movie, doesn't it? Hey, Sonia C says, hey Tom, how are you? I'm doing very good. Thank you so much, Sonia, for being here on this chilly yet beautiful night in Manhattan. Hey, Otto says, happy birthday, Tom. Always glad to see you in New York. Thank you so much, Otto, for your very kind donation as well. A lot of Canadians. I noticed we have a lot of big Canadian audience. Love that. Junior says, educate me, Tom. Is the Trade Center considered Soho or another area? No, the World Trade Center is not considered Soho. This is considered Lower Manhattan. We did technically walk by Soho a little bit. So we came from Canal Street, and if you remember, as you saw all the cars going into the Holland Tunnel, that is going out towards New Jersey. However, if we continued to walk east all the way down Canal Street and I made a left, that would be the Soho neighborhood, which maybe tomorrow night we'll have time to do that. I just wanted to take you guys down to Lower Manhattan, World Trade Center, and Wall Street tonight, mainly because we haven't been here in such a long time. I also want to show you a really, really good, I should say one of my favorite new developments in the city, in Manhattan. It's called 130 William Street. Now, if you guys sort of want to follow along and sort of understand why I think this new development is so unreal, if you go to Street Easy, type in 130 William, I'm forgetting the unit, but you'll see the unit because the rent is about $11,000 a month. Okay, so if you just go to Street Easy or Zillow, you type in 130 William Street, scroll down to rentals, and look at the unit that's renting for $11,000 a month. And tell me that's not one of the coolest apartments you have ever seen in Manhattan. It's a one-bedroom apartment, but you are on, I believe it's the 50th floor of the building, and you have an unreal balcony that overlooks the World Trade Center, all of the Hudson Yards, the Empire State Building, One Vanderbilt, all of Billionaires Row, pretty much all of Manhattan, and you can see all the way to Central Park. It is an unreal place. I think that unit's underpriced for 11 grand. I wish I could remember the unit. Maybe one of you or the moderators could find that on Street Easy and just put it in the chat so you guys could see the unit I'm talking about. So cool. Such a cool unit. All right, as we continue to walk towards One World Trade Center, the building right behind the World Trade Center is our friends over at Goldman Sachs, 200 West Street. And speaking of Goldman Sachs, we actually have some news out of Goldman Sachs as they released their small business survey. So Goldman Sachs, every once in a blue, sends out a survey to around 10,000 small businesses in the United States and asks them, are you confident and are you comfortable that you are going to be able to get access to capital over the next 12 months? This is BMCC, by the way. This big building right here. BMCC is a CUNY in the City University of New York system. That's where I went to school, within the CUNY public education system. This is the community college of BMCC. Stands for Borough of Manhattan Community College. But anyway, I'll take you guys over to the sort of the ground zero reflection pools. I don't really like coming down over this way, but I guess we will for the sake of being here. So they were asking 10,000 small businesses, what is your confidence level that you'll be able to get access to capital, right, small business loans and the like, over the next 12 months? And 77% of respondents of the small business survey said they are not comfortable with receiving capital or having access to capital over the next 12 months. Now, it's interesting because the theme of the live stream, and I'll take you guys over to Goldman Sachs now, 200 West Street. Hey, Dan Zeng is here. What's up, Dan? Because the theme of this week's stream has been being a contrarian, what that means. Now, one of the reasons that sparked that particular topic is due to the passing of real estate legend Sam Zell. And Sam Zell is really known for being a contrarian and making a lot of money in the real estate business in a sort of an opportunity with distressed debt and distressed properties, particularly distressed credit. Now, if you think about the Goldman Sachs survey, and now we are literally right at the front entrance of the World Trade Center here. This is really absolutely an unbelievable building, standing directly at the base of the World Trade Center. Just to give you some perspective on how tall this thing is, it's almost like an unbelievable sight to be standing here. Like how humans could build a structure this massive, it's really, really unbelievable. But anyway, so if you look at the Goldman Sachs survey, 77% of small businesses out of the 10,000 that were surveyed says they are very, very pessimistic on being able to gain access to capital this year, right, through small business loans and the like. But if you go back to this time last year, the poll was the exact opposite. It was 77% of the respondents of the poll were extremely optimistic about getting access to capital. Now, if we do some reverse engineering here, let's actually hold that thought. I want to show you guys and give you a front row view of the front doors of the World Trade Center. So you can see the letters right here, One World Trade Center. And then I'm going to quickly turn around for you guys, and you will be able to see the two beautiful reflection pools, and that is actually where the old World Trade Centers stood prior to September 11, 2001. So this is the first sort of reflection pool here. You know, if I zoom in on this, you'll actually be able to see. You have the south reflection pool, and then you have the north pool, and this is actually the exact location of where the World Trade Center stood. And then you have the September 11th National Museum, which I think is closing down, by the way, or may have closed down already. But yeah, I think they roped this area off at night, but it is open during the day for, you know, tourists and things like that, visitors. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick look at that. But this is the new World Trade Center here. But anyway, in terms of being a contrarian, if you think about, if we reverse engineer that survey, what was the main common factor as to why small business optimism was so high back then, or in terms of access to capital or access to credit? Well, it has to do with interest rates. And we've been talking about rates almost to the point of ad nauseum on the channel, because interest rates is really what drives the market. This is a really cool, look at that. I'm assuming these are jacks, right? Yeah, this looks like a memorial of jacks, like the game. But instead of it being jacks, this is the globe, this is the world, right? I think you could see Australia right here. And then this is fists. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, it was the access to capital was so easy back in the day due to interest rates, right? What has changed over the last 18 months? Well, the Federal Reserve has raised rates, interest rates, to the tune of 500 basis points. Right now, the Fed funds rate is in a target range of 5% to 5.25%, right? That means banks lending standards, or banks are very, very reluctant to lend to small businesses. And if they do lend to small businesses and give them a credit line, their interest rates are going to be astronomically high. You know, some small business loans or lines of credit right now could be double digits, could be 10 or 11%. Kind of crazy. Hey, Design Ideas, thank you so much for your very kind $10 donation. Design Ideas, thank you so much. This is Tom. Have a great long weekend and happy Memorial Day. Likewise, right back at you. Happy Memorial Day to you too. Thank you so much. SoCal Lawrence is here. Thank you so much for your $2 donation. Thank you for being here, SoCal Lawrence. Says thank you for tonight's walk. Appreciate you being here. Here we have 200 West Street, which is Goldman Sachs. Hey, Dan Zhang says, Tommy, you doing anything fun on Memorial Day? I'm actually going to be working this weekend. Going to be doing a lot of interesting stuff. I'm going to be working. I have a couple of events to go to. I don't know. What about you? I think there's going to be a lot of cool stuff going on out east, specifically in the Hamptons and the like. Anybody have any plans? Anything significant that's going to be going on for Memorial Day weekend? The city was kind of dead today, like relatively speaking. I think that's because everybody takes off for the long weekend, right? Memorial Day is Monday, so if you take off Thursday, Friday, you have like an extended, huge long weekend. Hey, NBA Elias is Tom. Germany is now officially in a recession, 2 quarters of negative growth. Not good for Europe's largest economy. Yeah, I agree. Now, the Eurozone is a disaster, in my opinion. And NBA Elias, I tweeted this out the other day. Has anybody heard the expression, stocks are expensive for a reason and stocks are cheap for a reason? Now, many people think that just because a stock is trading at a low PE ratio, that the stock is an automatic buy. Oh, the stock is trading at a 9 PE, it must be a buy. Or if a stock is trading at like 150 PE, like Nvidia, the stock is automatically a sell. Well, it's actually quite the inverse of that. I'll take you guys over to Goldman Sachs. Hold on, just so you guys see, because we were talking about the Goldman Sachs survey tonight. This is 200 West Street. You know, back when I used to work in my telecom days, Goldman Sachs was one of my accounts, so I would go here oftentimes into the Goldman Sachs offices. But it's not enough to say this stock is trading at a 10 PE ratio, so it's cheap, it must be a buy, I gotta buy it. Or to say, you know what, this stock is trading at 150 PE, it's a sell, you gotta short it. There needs to be a catalyst, and there's reasons why things are expensive, right? Just like in your regular life. You know, I always revert back to Peter Lynch. You know, think about the Peter Lynch method. Like, think about the value of things. Why do things trade at a premium, right? If you live at Central Park South and you have an apartment with a gorgeous view of Central Park, that is going to trade at a premium. You're going to pay top dollar for that, as opposed to maybe you're on 59th Street, but you're on 9th Avenue. That could be the difference between $1 million. Okay, that could be the difference between an apartment selling for $600 a square foot or $2,000 a square foot. So usually things are expensive for a reason, and things are cheap for a reason. A stock is probably trading at a very low valuation because there could be something systemically wrong with the business, right? They could have decelerating earnings and decelerating sales, right? You look at a company like GE, and this is why it's so important to do historical analysis on companies, right? Look at the rise and fall of General Electric. Back in the day when my parents were my age, the goal was to get a cushy job at General Electric and so you could retire with a pension. Right now, GE's trading at what? $4, $5? Hey, Jafet Perez says, Tom, I love Amazon and Google right now. Ninja says, New York City is sinking and the water is rising. Soon the whole place will be like Venice. Doubtful, but maybe. JPEX is how about looking for stocks which pay a good dividend? Yes, but you know what's actually interesting about that? I'll just give you guys the whole loop. This is West Street, by the way. And this bike path will actually take you all the way around the island of Manhattan. This is probably the best bike ride you will ever get. So if you're a tourist and you're visiting New York, or you're planning on moving here, this is an amazing, amazing place to come. You could rent a bike, you could buy a bike, or you could even skateboard, and you could take this path all the way around the island of Manhattan. It is gorgeous. I've done this many, many times, but we'll go back around because it's going to get quite windy here. But somebody was saying, you know, what about dividends? Should we just look for stocks exclusively that pay very, very high dividends? Well, no, actually. Sometimes you could fall into what's called a dividend trap. Just because a company has an 8% to a 10% dividend yield doesn't mean it is a buy. Actually, quite the contrary. That could mean that the stock is a huge sell. Look at AT&T, the company I used to actually work for back in the day, ticker symbol T. Pull up a monthly chart, right? If you have your Bloomberg terminal up, if you have MarketSmith, if you have TradingView. This is Goldman Sachs lobby. This is the lobby of Goldman Sachs here at 200 West Street. Look where AT&T is trading at now. The stock, I think, is down like 30% on the year, maybe even more. And yeah, it pays a ridiculous dividend, but you have pretty much zero price appreciation in the stock. Look at Carl Icahn Enterprises, or Icahn Enterprises right now. Look at the dividend yield on that. You know, I think that stock is going to go to single digits now, and it actually may go bankrupt for other reasons. You know, allegedly. We'll talk about that on a different stream. But be very careful. You know, just because a company pays a very, very attractive dividend yield, it could actually mean quite the opposite. It could actually mean that's a big red flag and you should stay away. Hey, Susanna Q4 is here. Says hello, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, Susanna. Thanks for joining us. All right, I'll give you guys one more shot of the World Trade Center, and then we'll head back into Manhattan. Well, we are in Manhattan. I'm talking about further into Manhattan. But if you guys are enjoying tonight's live stream, feel free to click the like button on the video and hit the subscribe button if you're new. We do these lives almost every single day, starting at 8:30 p.m. New York time. So if you like this kind of content, talking about the financial markets, learning a little bit about New York City, and having a chat with the team here as a group, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Join us. We have a good time. Now, everybody, I'm going to take you to 130 William Street, which is a straight ahead. But first, we are going to walk towards Fulton Street, which is actually one of the train stations I used to get off when I worked down here. Hey, Rosie is here. What's up? Daryl, welcome. Good to see you from Chicago. Andy is here. What's up, Andy? Andy is joining us from South Korea. Andy, pleasure to see you, sir. Annyeonghaseyo. Hopefully I'll be able to make it to South Korea this year, please God, hopefully. JM is here. This is nice. Good to see you, JM. Welcome to Lower Manhattan. Hey, Michael says, hey, Tom from Corpus Christi, Texas. How is everything going? I'm taking my PNC insurance exam tomorrow. Any advice? Ooh. I honestly don't have any advice for that. I would just say, you know, try the best you can and have a positive outlook on it. But so long as you studied for the exam, I think you'll be fine, my friend. So long as you studied and you've done the right thing, I think you shouldn't have any issue. I think you'll be fine. More than fine. This is the back entrance to the World Trade Center, which is actually the observatory. So if you're a tourist and you want to go all the way to the top of the World Trade Center, this is actually where you enter right here. I'm not sure how good it's coming out on the live stream, but if you look through these doors, you'll be able to see it. It says One World Trade Center Observatory. Hey, Junior. Wow, man. This is Tom. I enjoy all of your New York City streams. Allows us West Coasties a moment of East Coast bliss. Hey, or bliss. Hey, Junior, thank you so much, man, for your $100 donation. Very kind of you, dude. Now, you guys don't have to donate to the stream, I promise. But it does. I do really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are enjoying the content. Right? That's what I try to do every night. I try to make it fun. I try to make it educational as well, so you guys learn a thing or two about the financial markets, learn a thing or two about New York, and hopefully I learn a thing or two from you guys too. Right? I think I'm learning a lot, and I've been able to meet a lot of amazing people here. So again, you don't have to donate to the channel. I'm not asking you guys for money, but I do appreciate the support, and thank you for being so generous. So I do, just know that I do appreciate it. So it was very kind of you. Thank you. Hey, Western Mass Dave. I think I already saw you in here once, but good to see you again. I got your email, sir. Thank you for that. Now, I'm not sure what this thing is, which I probably should, but anybody know what this is? So this is right directly adjacent or right across the street from One World Trade. I don't know what it is. It doesn't look tall enough to be. It doesn't look tall enough to be a building. Maybe it's an entrance to something? Subway? I don't know. Anyway. Hey, Americreed 1776. I saw your message on Twitter. Thank you for being so nice. Hey, Omar, thank you as well, my friend. This is Love the Channel. What are your thoughts on gold? So we'll talk about gold for a minute. Oh, it's a performance center? I think you're right. Hold on. Yeah, you're right. Look at that. Cool. New York City's newest performing arts center. It's the first time I know about it. I'm from New York. Opening in 2023. Very nice. Cool. So I'll give you my take on gold. Now, I start off by talking about gold the same way every single time we bring it up. And that is, if we all want to stay on the same sort of playing field here, you could look at the gold futures, right? Or you could look at the ETF GLD and go to a monthly time frame on gold. This is the Oculus, or the entrance thereof to the Oculus. And this has to be one of the largest cup with handle patterns I've ever seen, right? Now, I'm not a commodities trader and I'm not a precious metals trader, but I will say this. If you're looking for a catalyst for assets like gold or digital gold, such as Bitcoin, doesn't regardless of what your thoughts on it, if you're looking for a catalyst for those particular assets to perform well, I think you have them. Now, what would those particular catalysts be? Well, I could think of two. First one is inflation. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, but Tom, we just got the CPI numbers out. This is cool graffiti here. We just got the CPI numbers out, and in the United States, inflation is cooling. Inflation's coming down. Okay, but I want you to expand. Like we always talk about, when you're trying to build an investment thesis, you should start with the top down and then go bottom up. So what is your macro picture? Well, I would say to you this. I would say, well, Argentina just got their inflation rate out. What was Argentina's inflation rate? That's my question to you. Also, the UK has double-digit inflation still. Just got a worse inflation print than expected in the UK. So it's a big world out there. and I think the demand for gold will go up, right? If you think about an asset like gold or a precious metal, platinum, palladium, silver, they're a store of value. They tend to maintain their value when incompetent governments, right? I could call it out, are inflating the value of your savings away. Another catalyst that I see, well, maybe not a catalyst, but a coincidence, global central banks, not just the Federal Reserve, right? Think about all the central banks out there. Their net purchases of gold is at an all-time record high. And the second catalyst, that was just a bonus, but the second catalyst that I see for gold, physical assets and unconfiscatable assets, such as Bitcoin, right? If you hold your own private keys, that's something you own. It is an unconfiscatable asset. Look what's going on in some of the parts of the world with people having their property, personal property, and property rights being confiscated, right? Look at what you have going on in the world with banks failing, right? We, especially here in the United States, started off with the Silicon Valley bank collapse. People woke up one morning and they thought they lost their entire life savings, right? Until they were, quote unquote bailed out. I know it wasn't a bailout, but we won't argue that. So it seems as if this decade-long consolidation in gold, which gold has been going sideways for a decade, seems to be cooperating with the fundamentals. So I've said it before and I said it again, I don't have any exposure to gold. However, I will have exposure to gold if it breaks a brand new all-time record high on big volume, which we've been trying to test that 2080 number, right? 2,080 an ounce, I think, is the all-time record high for gold in US dollars. Perhaps, I think gold has hit an all-time record high in other currencies outside of the US dollar. But there's also a lot of, and I don't know if we could talk about this on the stream, but there's also a lot of manipulation and price spoofing in the precious metals market. I'll let you guys do some research on this, but major investment banks, particularly BNP Paribas, which is a French investment bank, JP Morgan Chase, which our friend Jamie Dimon runs, consistently has to pay hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fees for suppressing the price of precious metals through the paper market, right, or the derivative of the paper, right? So if you go on TradingView, if you go on your brokerage account in Interactive Brokers or whatever broker you have, you type in SLV, you're not really buying silver, you're buying the paper derivative. And that is very much manipulated by big Wall Street mega banks. And it is proven. It is proven that it is, because they have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars worth of fines for doing that. But if you're a bank and you could make $1 billion, manipulating the price of gold and silver, and all you have to do is pay, $150 million bucks, that's the reason why they're taking those trades. That's the reason why they're doing it, right? To them, it's like the cost of doing business. Hey, somebody says hello from Venezuela. Good to see you. Welcome. All right, everybody, we are now on Fulton Street. This is the brand new, well, not really brand new anymore, but it is a really nice train station. This is the Fulton Center train station, where you can get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, C, J, and Z trains right here. Also, you can get a burger at Shake Shack if you so wish. Hey, Natalie, what's up? Good to see you, Natalie. Thank you for joining us. Wabi says, did you read the story about the First Republic bankers who are making tens of millions? I have not. Could you drop that in the chat? I would like to read that story. Hey, custom built American fire trucks. Is any thoughts on Plug Power? I don't follow the stock. I don't have any thoughts on it. I'm not really following it right now. But battery technology, I think, is going to play a very pivotal role, especially if you want to be serious about a transition to renewable energies and not just, gaslight the American people like the politicians do. I think battery technology is going to be very important. But no concrete thoughts on it. Hey, what's up? A manhole says Argentina is hiding a lot. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I mean, we've asked this question many times. I don't have any exposure to gold. I almost take the Warren Buffett approach. And the Warren Buffett approach is this. He says, why would I buy gold when I just look at it, it sits in a corner and it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't produce anything. It doesn't spit off cash flow. It's not a business that can grow. It's not a business that can grow its earnings exponentially. It just sort of sits there and it kind of looks nice. Now, I know that is a broad generalization. Okay, I'm just summarizing his point. I think the reason why I subscribe to that belief right now is because maybe I have a longer time until my quote-unquote retirement age, right? So has anybody ever done the time value of money calculation? Now, chances are if you've ever interviewed with an investment bank or you've ever interviewed with a hedge fund, one of the questions that they give you is it's a sort of like a time value of money calculation, right? And they try to see how your brain works as it relates to present value of money in comparison to what the value of a dollar will be in 10 years. So the point I'm trying to make there is, if I'm 28 years old right now, and we're getting close to 130 William Street, by the way, but I just want to give you one more quick shot of the World Trade Center, because this is an unbelievable building, and I think it represents everything that's fantastic about the United States of America right there. If I'm 28 years old right now, and I could buy, let's say the S&P 500, and I subscribe to the belief that corporate profits in America are on average going to go up 8% per year, right? You may have earnings recessions, which we're in now. You may have earnings contractions, but over time, corporate profits in America generally tend to go up 8% a year. I think I'm going to get a much better return on my money invested now as opposed to the return I would make on gold. So that is like an opportunity cost calculation that I think everybody needs to take. However, do I think gold deserves to be a part of everybody's portfolio? Probably, but it's not part of mine right now, just in full disclosure. All right, guys, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. This is my personal favorite new development building in Manhattan. It is right on the corner of Fulton Street and William Street. If you look all the way down past the Chipotle, ticker symbol CMG, you'll actually see Pace University, which is a very good school. They have a very good business school. However, it is very overpriced and expensive in my view. Maybe I shouldn't say overpriced. There could be some Pace University students walking around. But here it is, 130 William. You can see all the construction barriers still up. But look at how unique this building looks. Now, for context, if you guys go to StreetEasy, okay, and you type in 130 William, you'll probably be able to see it a little bit better. The amenities are unbelievable in this building. The location is so pristinely placed that you have views of not only the Williamsburg Bridge, but the Manhattan Bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge, One World Trade Center, and depending which unit you live in the building, you can see all of Midtown Manhattan and Billionaires Row. So if you go to StreetEasy and you go down to rentals, okay, at 130 William, check out the unit that is renting for about $11,000 a month. I forget the unit, I think it may be 54F or 54PHF, and it has unbelievable balcony, an unbelievable terrace, and unbelievable views of all of Midtown Manhattan. And one of the unique things about this building are these very unique arch-shaped windows that sort of coat all of the outside of the new development. And you have this very nice sort of patio space common area. Now, since it's dark, you can't really see too much of the detail, but if you want to come here and check it out yourself, it is quite beautiful. Looks like there's a little bit of commercial retail space here. 130 William. Hey, Rich, good to see you. Welcome. I think they did a really good job. It almost doesn't even look like you're in Manhattan. It sort of looks like you're back in time, right? Like you're in a castle with these big archways here. Yeah, Wabi says that's a super sweet building. You guys got to check out the amenities in this place. It has a saltwater pool, okay? But the design of the pool is so unique in and of itself because the designs of the pool are very similar to the sinks and the bathtubs in every unit of the building. That is one of the things that really caught my eye as I was looking at some of the units in here. I was like, wow, the pool looks very similar to the sink, looks very similar to the bathtub. You'll sort of get that vibe as you check out the building. The fixtures in the individual units complement the fixtures in the rec area, in the pool. But since we're here, we may go and say hello to Fed Chair Jerome Powell at the Federal Reserve, or I should say the New York Fed. Yeah, Abdullah is gorgeous. It's really amazing. Spencer says, let's see the inside of the apartment, Tom. You know, that's what I'm working on, guys, so stay tuned for that. What I really want to do, because we talk about New York City real estate and commercial real estate so much on the stream, and I think in order to really understand where the equity markets are going, you need to really pay attention to one of the largest asset classes in the world, which is real estate, because one complements the other. So yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on getting you guys access to very interesting and exclusive buildings. So I'm in talks with some of the developers in New York. I'm excited to bring you guys that experience as well. I'll show you guys the Fed. I'll catch up on the comments. I think I saw a comment from Dan Zhang. Yeah, Sharon, the architect, it's unbelievable. I really wish it was a little bit lighter out, so you guys could see the outside of the building, the architecture. It's unbelievable. Let me scroll back to Dan. Dan Zhang says, Tom, do you think investing in gold only works if you know when to sell? Meaning you have to look at the macro conditions of whether to buy or sell? No, I mean, I think it's really just a store of value play, right? But I think for me, the opportunity cost just doesn't make sense. And maybe it does make sense, and maybe, you know, we go through a 10-year, 20-year earnings recession where earnings in the United States decline for 20 years. I don't know. I think that's very highly unlikely, especially now with the introduction of artificial intelligence, cloud computing. I think we're actually going to go into one of the most aggressive bull markets in efficiency and productivity the world has ever seen. But I want to save that topic for another night because there's so much to talk about and there's so much data to analyze there. We're not going to be able to fit it into this stream. But I don't know, Dan, do you own any gold? Do you have any exposure to it? Now, it's funny because we're talking about gold, and the vast majority of the world's gold is right in this building. It's actually underground, I think. So I think most of the country's gold around the world is actually stored in the building to my right. This is the Federal Reserve, the big scary Fed. Now, the president of the New York Fed is John Williams. So Fed President John Williams is the president of the New York Federal Reserve. And one of the things that John Williams has said is that we will not cut interest rates. We will not cut interest rates until the unemployment rate goes to 5% at least. At least. Now, if you looked at the last non-farm payroll report, the unemployment rate is actually going in the opposite direction. It's actually going lower. We have some of the lowest unemployment in U.S. history right now. So it's actually going in the opposite direction of what a lot of the Fed presidents want to see before they start to cut interest rates. But this is the Federal Reserve, this big fortress of a building. Now, if you're big into movies, this block may look very familiar to you, particularly right up here at this intersection. This is where they filmed the movie Money Monster with George Clooney. Not sure if you guys saw that movie. They filmed the famous scene with the suicide vest, the bomb vest on George Clooney right here. He was standing right here. I actually saw them film that. I think this may have been, what, 2013, 14? I don't know. When did that movie come out? When did Money Monster come out, everybody? 2014? Anyway. Now, the Federal Reserve has their own police department. Federal Reserve Police. And look at those massive cast iron doors on this building. Unbelievable. I mean, it's a really gorgeous looking building, the architecture. But I'm not a big fan of the Federal Reserve, as you guys know. Can this is efficiency linked to job loss? I think it will in some cases. I really want to knock on this door to see how solid it is. Hopefully we don't get, oh my God, that is rock solid. You know when you knock on something and it's like so solid that it barely makes a sound? That's how solid it is. I mean, for good reason. There's probably, some guy in there that's watching our every move. They probably pulled up my social security number and they're updating my social credit score. Just kidding, just kidding. Sparks Carnival says Disney layoffs for efficiency is long overdue. I don't think it's just exclusive to Disney. I mean, I understand what you're saying because they've been in the news. But it's everywhere. I mean, why do you think the stock price of Meta has rallied so much this year? Right? It's because investors reamed into Mark Zuckerberg and said, listen, pal, you've been spending like Congress on all this metaverse BS. You got to start cutting costs, laying people off, and focusing on being lean and mean, or we're pulling out. And that's what Zuckerberg has really done this year, by the way. He's laid off a lot of people. He's trimmed a lot of fat. There's been a lot of corporate bloat that has since gone away. All right, so this is like the spot where they filmed it. So if you want to check out the movie Money Monster, they filmed it on the corner of Liberty Street and Nassau. And this is literally the scene. If you take a screenshot of the camera angle right now and you watch the movie, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is exactly where it was. Right up here. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? Brad's Brain says federal police of any sort is scary. Never forget. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, well. Hey, Joe C says, Tom, how are you feeling? I'm feeling great. Joe C, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. The Garlic says Secession is also filmed here. I really got to watch that show, man. I've yet to see it. And has been recommended to me many times. I promise you guys I will see it, I promise. Hey, Zay Batata is here, welcome. I know MBA Lives is like pals watching us from the office. Let's see. I mean, it is an unbelievable building. It's probably one of the most protected buildings in Manhattan. I'm just not, I don't like modern monetary theory. I don't like, because here's the thing, everybody. The Federal Reserve and central banking in and of itself really exacerbates boom and bust cycles. You have these crazy raging bull markets, and then you have these big, huge busts. And that's why we've been seeing so many of these banks go under, right? Because we are coming off almost 20, well, let me pull back on that. Over 12 years of ZIRP, which is zero interest rate policy, artificially suppressed rates. This is the New York Stock Exchange, by the way, right in front of us. I'm so excited I'll be able to show you guys that. But my favorite building down here is Federal Hall. It's actually where George Washington was inaugurated. Love this building. You know, but we've been coming off 12 years of artificially suppressed rates. So one of the reasons why a lot of these banks have been failing is because if you look at the balance sheet of a lot of these banks, they hold a product that's called MBS, or mortgage-backed securities. Now, mortgage-backed securities are totally safe and they're fine. It's not like back in 2007 and 2008 when, you know, banks were, you know, speculating on mortgage bonds that were subprime, meaning that these people could never, ever in a million years afford to pay the loans back, especially when interest rates went up. But they have been accumulating so much of these safe securities, safe assets, such as mortgage-backed securities. But since interest rates have been so artificially suppressed for so long, and we've had this massive, abrupt hike in interest rates, this is the fastest pace that rates have gone up since Paul Volcker, right? Since Volcker jacked interest rates to 20%. So if you think about the correlation between bond prices and yields, it is an inverse correlation. So if you have all of these banks, right, most notably Silicon Valley Bank, loaded up with mortgage-backed securities that they purchased in 2020 and 2021, well, they purchased them with interest rates of 2%, sometimes a little bit less. So mortgage-backed securities right now, those assets, those securities that they hold, are worth maybe 50 cents on the dollar since rates have gone up 500 basis points. So if you have a run on the bank, right, if everybody gets spooked and there's some smart investors out there, this is Trinity Church, very famous place in Manhattan. If investors get spooked and somebody notices this and says, whoa, hold on, the mark-to-market accounting here is terrible, the mortgage-backed securities that these banks hold on their balance sheets, they're not worth too much right now. And if there was ever an event or a tail risk event where they were forced to sell those particular securities or those particular assets, well, they're going to get pennies on the dollar for those. And that's exactly what happened with the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. You had investors pulling out their cash, which has forced the bank to sell these assets to get the cash to pay back the depositors. Problem is, you can't sell them at par value, meaning the banks wanted to sell the mortgage-backed securities at the same price of where they purchased them, but interest rates have gone up about 500 basis points. Therefore, the value, right, the mark-to-market value of those bonds are worth about half, so you're insolvent. Now, it wouldn't be a problem, by the way, if the banks were able to hold those mortgage bonds to maturity, but that is the fractional reserve lending system in which we live. It is prone to bank runs. All right, this is Wall Street. This is the beautiful Federal Hall here. Oh, look at the dog. playing fetch on Broad Street. Love that. And this is the front of the New York Stock Exchange. Hey, Dr. Longas, good to see you. Penelope is here. Welcome, Penelope. I'll show you guys the Fearless Girl statue. Now, the Fearless Girl actually used to be right in front of the Mighty Bull, which is actually on Broadway. Many people who are not familiar with New York think that the Mighty Bull is actually in front of the Stock Exchange. It's not. It's actually quite a ways away on Broadway. But this is the Fearless Girl. I think this company is IPOing maybe. What is it called? Atmos Filtration Technologies, ticker symbol ATMU. Interesting. Never heard of them. But congratulations on their IPO. Hey Spencer says, is this Wall Street? It is. This is the corner of Wall Street and Broad Street. Now the bad news is this is Federal Hall, and this scaffolding is going to be up here for 10 years, if you can believe that. There was a ton of structural damage to this building because it's so old. So the building department forced it to go into renovations, and this will be up for about 10 years. Hey, MBA Elias says, Tom, is it known how many traders actually work or trade at the physical Wall Street New York Stock Exchange building? I don't know the exact amount, but it's a fraction of what it used to be, right? So what MBA Elias is saying is 100% correct. And I was actually lucky enough, I was so blessed to actually be invited to go to the closing bell ceremony, one of the closing bell ceremonies in this building. It was amazing. A company called Nvidia, ticker symbol ELA. They invited me to come to the closing bell, which I very thankful to the company. It was so nice to invite me to do that. And you're right, MBA Elias's point, many people think inside the New York Stock Exchange, you know, there's traders hollering and screaming and trading and doing all. It's not like that, really. It's kind of just like a historical place. Now, there is market-making activity that goes on down here, but a fraction of what it used to be, because it doesn't really need to be like that anymore, right? It's not back in the day where we traded stock with physical pieces of paper, right? I could trade stock from my bed. I could trade stock from the golf course. It's all electronic and algorithmic trading now, so very little trading actually goes on there. It's more of a studio for CNBC and the like. But there are traders and there are market makers on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, but very, very few. Very, very few. Now, if you think about the history of this street, Wall Street, as time went on, as algorithmic trading, electronic trading really came about, a lot of the broker-dealers and a lot of the investment banks have migrated further uptown. So I actually consider Wall Street to really be Park Avenue, right? If you've ever taken a walk up and down Park Avenue, which we do oftentimes, that's probably the highest concentration of investment banks, hedge funds, family offices, private equity firms. You know, you just had 425 Park Avenue go up. Citadel Securities is going to be in there. I think Ken Griffin, CEO and founder of Citadel, has just announced that they are going to build a mega tall Class A office tower on Park Avenue, not too far away from Jamie Dimon's brand new office tower, which is going to be at 270 Park. And lastly, right over here, my friends, where I actually used to work in the building right next to the Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank is now no longer on Wall Street either. This was one of the last main big standing investment banks that was on the physical street of Wall Street. No more. They've moved out. The whole building is vacant. And it's such an amazing building. It's such a massive building. I want you guys to take a look at this, okay? This is the very famous Deutsche Bank, the very famous German bank, big German investment bank, bulge bracket bank, and they are no longer here. They have moved uptown to one of my favorite neighborhoods of all time, 59th Street, Columbus Circle. They took over the brand new Time Warner Centers, right? Formerly known as the Time Warner Center. Love this dog right here. 10 out of 10 on that dog. I believe it's a golden retriever. Love them. So they took over the Time Warner Centers and they've officially left 60 Wall Street. So Wall Street is abandoned. Shouldn't say abandoned, but a lot of these office towers are completely vacant. And if you remember from our live stream yesterday, we were talking exclusively about commercial real estate in Manhattan and how vacancy rates for commercial real estate are reaching that of all-time record highs. You can kind of see the Deutsche Bank logos. Let me know in the chat if you guys could see that. They tried to scrape it all down, but you could see a little bit. It'll say Deutsche Bank. I used to literally work right next door. You would see all the bankers coming in and out. This used to be buzzing with bankers. And now look at it. Totally empty. It looks like they're doing some sort of a gut renovation. Yeah, NBALIS's logo is still visible for sure. Yeah, you could just barely see it. Hey, Jersey is here. Says, what's up? Good to see you. Dan Zhang says, Tom, is the AIG headquarters still in the area? I think it is. You know, that was one of my other clients. AIG, I think, is still down here. Let's check it out. I used to be in that building a lot. Now, Dan, here's something also that's funny, right? Because everybody's been talking about, well, what are we going to do with these big vacant office towers? Are we going to convert them into condominiums? Are we going to convert them into, you know, hotels? Well, that's what they did with my old office. Here it is, right here. I think this is actually called the Wall Street Hotel. Now, I'm not sure, there's probably no photographs of this, but let me tell you guys, this building did not look anything like this when I worked here, okay? This is so beautiful. They've kept the original architecture, at least on the bottom front, in place a little bit, but when I worked here, the building wasn't in the best shape, let's just say that. And now, I think this is a 4-star hotel. I mean, do you guys want to keep me honest with that? Wow, the Buttonwood agreement. Yeah, you know what? I was actually able to see the original Buttonwood agreement inside the New York Stock Exchange. It was one of the best experiences of my life. That was earlier in the year. They actually have the original Buttonwood agreement on display inside the New York Stock Exchange. If you ever have the opportunity to go in there and see that, take that opportunity, please. So this is the Wall Street Hotel. This actually used to be office towers. This is 88 Wall Street. Looks like a pretty nice hotel. Seems to be a lot of people inside. You have a nice bar and lounge area. It actually looks really nice. Yeah, it looks like a nice bar area. Wow, NBALIS's Tom Paramount Group is planning to invest more than $250 million in repositioning 60 Wall Street. Wow. So what are they going to do with it? Did they say residential office or something? This actually used to be the front door of the office tower, but now this is the front door of this restaurant that looks really nice, but maybe is not open yet. Look at how nice that looks. Now, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We try to do these live streams every day, starting at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, walking around Manhattan and Miami talking about the financial markets. Now, speaking of condo conversions from big commercial real estate office to luxury apartments, this is 95 Wall Street, and it looks like we'll wait for these people to go by with the music. It still looks like an office tower, but these are all luxury apartments. And I've been in here a couple times, and I gotta be honest with you guys, it's a little bit awkward, the layouts. It sort of kind of feels like you're in an office building, if you know what I mean. Yeah, not to hate on the building, it's very expensive to live there, but I don't know, I think there's just so many other better options in the city than this particular building, in my opinion. It says now leasing 95 Wall Street. You can go on Zillow or StreetEasy and look at some of the apartment units there. Hey, everything in Miami's here. What's up? Welcome to Wall Street. We are now on Water Street. Trinity Church all the way up there, the corner of Wall and Water. Hey, Sparks Carnival says the Penn 15 will be a new office tower between 32nd Street and 33rd Street. Renders are beautiful, reminds me of Jenga. Wow. So who's in charge of that? I think it's Vernada, right? I believe. Now the problem is they've sunk so much money into that Penn Plaza office space. But the funny thing is, right around that area, Manhattan has the highest vacancy rates of any office space in the city, which is kind of crazy. And their stock is getting crushed. Their stock is getting hit big time. Now my phone may die, but I want to take you guys to one of my favorite places in Manhattan. And I think we'll just have enough time to do that, by the way. It's going to be the South Street Seaport. And as you know, it is May 25th, which means Monday is Memorial Day, the official start to summer, in my opinion. I really consider Memorial Day weekend the start to summer. Would you guys agree? And South Street Seaport is one of the best locations to hang out and relax on a summer weekend in New York. It has amazing views of Brooklyn, amazing views of Lower Manhattan, and amazing views of the Brooklyn Bridge. And I'd love to take you guys there right now. Dan Zhang, I don't know if you're still watching. This is AIG, but the whole building looks totally vacant. Look at that, guys. I used to be in this building a lot. So right here is AIG. I think it's totally empty. You can see inside. Everything looks totally hollowed out. Let's check it out. We'll go to the front door. Just gotta wait for the traffic light. Ah, Wabi, this is your old neighborhood. Very cool. Molly is here. Sabrina Fair. Nina, what's up? Says, hey, Tom and team, I just made it. Thank you for being here, Nina. Yeah, Joseph Hardaway's just like if the weather feels like summer. Not gonna lie, it's kind of chilly out tonight, guys. It's almost June and it is chilly out. Oh yeah, this place is vacant. If I had to bet, it's vacant. It looks dusty. It does not look like what it used to look. That's crazy to see that, guys, in real time. This used to be AIG right here. Wow. Man, this is bringing back memories, actually. I used to come in here a lot and do pitches. Yep. I think it's totally, yeah, it's empty. Wow. It's kind of sad to see, actually, a little bit. Man. There actually used to be a restaurant right here. Yeah, you could tell it's empty. That's crazy. This used to be like a whole big front desk area where you would check in, get your name tag, everything. Wow. I used to get breakfast here before I would go into the office. This used to be a breakfast place. Yeah, it used to be called Flavors. Wow, dude, and this place is totally empty. Irish Max is where was Bernie Madoff's office? Well, we saw that last night. That was the Lipstick Building. Bernie Madoff used to work right on Park Avenue at the Lipstick Building. We saw that last night. You can kind of see a little bit of South Street Seaport, but I want to take you guys a little bit further down because it's a better view to kind of see it. It kind of seems a little bit dead down here, guys, doesn't it? This is on the corner of Water Street and John Street. There's not a lot of street traffic in terms of like foot traffic. All right, this is One Seaport Plaza. And as we turn right on Fulton Street, this is going to be the main Seaport area. And this is one of my favorite parts of Manhattan, by the way. Really, really gorgeous. Hey, Dusty Cole, what's up? PLA 30s. I always thought it was dead after work even years ago. Yeah, I mean, sometimes in the summer when I worked down here, it was nice because after work, a lot of people would go out to like Stone Street. There's a lot of bars there. You know, even South Street Seaport, this is kind of dead tonight. But it's probably because it's Memorial Day weekend, right? Everybody's out to the Hamptons, things like that. But I mean, you really have to appreciate the gorgeous, I'm just going to say cobblestone streets. I know this isn't what it's called. It's not called cobblestone. You guys have corrected me like 20 times in the chat. It's actually called. But it's awesome down here. I really like this neighborhood a lot, guys. Let me check the battery life. Oh man, we only got 7%. Hey Brian, good to see you, and thank you so much for your very kind $2 donation. Well, this is a very unique area. I think we do have to cut the live stream short because my battery is going to die. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Thank you for all of the wonderful birthday wishes. I appreciate all of you very much. If you want to join us tomorrow night right here in Manhattan on Walks on Wall Street, please click the subscribe button on the channel. Like the video if you enjoyed it tonight, and we will see you guys tomorrow. So Steve CR, thank you so much for joining us. Line Sync, Molly, Sparks Carnival, I appreciate you. Zozo Bob, thank you for the birthday wish. Appreciate you. Michelle Henry, Dr. Longest Travel, thank you, thank you. Gigi NYC, the LT Prod, Miami is everything. Thank you, sir. Robert, And to the mighty bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere. You just need to know where to look. Daniel G, thank you, sir. Guys, it's Friday. Finish the week strong. I'm wishing you all peace, prosperity, and happiness into this Memorial Day weekend. God bless you all, and I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Hang with Mark Mom. I appreciate you as well. Take care, guys. My phone's going to die. And War Walker, I got you right at the end.